Hello, friends, and welcome to the Living Truth Podcast. This is Kristin Carey hosting today, and this is actually part 2 of a conversation that I am having with Sarah McDugal. Sarah, thank you so much for joining me for a part 2 conversation. I'm so excited.
Me too. This has been fun. The last one went like that.
It did. So, friends, you could listen to this as a standalone episode, but if you'd like, you could go back to episode 1 where Sarah and I talk about learning to recognize red flags of abuse. And she really does an incredible job of explaining even what is the picture of healthy in a marriage, not just focused on what are red flags of abuse, although we go into that also. You're going to want to hear that at some point. But you could just go ahead and start with this episode. If you're in a place where you know, I need to end this marriage, there's reconciliation is not possible, then that's what we're going to be talking about more today, and navigating in particular family court when there's destructive tendencies in the marriage. Let me first tell you a little bit more about Sarah in case you did not hear episode 1. Sarah specializes in tactical trauma-informed tools for protective parents in divorce and custody court. She is a high-conflict communication coach who brings clarity, empathy, and wisdom into an arena where justice often feels elusive. Sarah's approach is not therapy. She's a coach. She works on helping people with tactical mindset coaching, and especially has a heart for parents who are done playing nice with injustice and ready to fight smart. Finding yourself in a situation where you're like, I never thought this would be my life, but here I am. What do I do next? Sarah, you offer such valuable insight, wisdom, and resources for women in situations like this. So I'm just so grateful to have this conversation with you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I enjoyed the last one, and I think today this one is going to be great too.
Awesome. Okay, so let's say a woman's at a place where she realizes I need to end this, right? And there's so many mixed feelings with that. It's overwhelming. It's an overwhelming decision, and yet there can be relief. But there are some things that women miss about how some of those behaviors they've witnessed in their marriage are going to show up in the process of separation or divorce. And I want you to talk more about that. But friends, first I want to tell you to take note of your own nervous system, your body, your breath right now, because what we're talking about here is genuinely stressful, and it can feel really overwhelming. And I invite you to take breaks, take some breaths, maybe to listen to this while you're walking. That's right. Yeah. Just take a few moments.
And then I yawned because
parasympathetic.
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
See, we need that too.
It's when you're not boring. I promise. It's my parasympathetic nervous state.
You feel so good. I love that.
I do. Yes.
I love that. So yeah, things can ramp up when a woman decides to leave.
Right. And we know that from the domestic violence field that the most dangerous, when there has been harm, patterns of harm in a relationship, patterns of addiction, abuse, escalation, the most volatile and dangerous time for a woman is when she decides to leave. And for the first year after that. And then the second most volatile and dangerous time is when she partners again, whether she starts dating or gets married again. That's when things tend to spike and re-escalate down the road. So we know that just from data, right? That's a statistical fact. That being said, very many times when a woman who's been dealing with patterns that are harmful, destructive, devastating behaviors in her marriage finally reaches the point that reconciliation is just no longer on the table. She cannot keep living with either the love bombing cycles where he does something that is deeply betraying, and then he's so sorry and so remorseful, and then it happens again, and then it happens again, and then it happens again. And she's just like, okay, I can't do this. I need it to be stable or I'm out.
Yeah.
What we often don't realize is that when one partner has those entrenched patterns of behavior, those entrenched patterns of behavior are going to follow you into the family court system. It's just a fact. The best predictor of the future is the behavior pattern of the past. So, however it has been is how it is most likely to go forward. That being said, if you've never said no, or threatened to leave, or set hard boundaries, or acted with your own agency and autonomy before, you may not have any idea how bad it could get. If you've always submitted and been subservient and done what you were told. Because in an abusive relational dynamic, a very toxic relationship can hum along quite smoothly on the surface, as long as the victim is being compliant.
Mm-hmm.
When the victim removes compliance with the abusive partner, the harming partner, I'm just going to use the word abusive because that is the best terminology. But I also want to be sensitive that you may not have decided that you're in an abusive relationship yet. However, if you're listening to this and thinking, oh, I probably need to hear this, then there have almost certainly been abusive behavior patterns.
Yeah.
Right? So
Mhm.
we're going to call those harming behavior patterns abusive, just for the sake of me not stopping to caveat and quantify every other new principle. Okay. So if you have complied for whatever reason, maybe that was just the safest thing to do. Maybe that's what you were taught was your place and your role your whole life. Maybe that's your personality and you're very gentle and compliant person overall. But if you've never said no, you have no idea what the other partner is capable of until you try to say no.
Yeah.
And the best predictor of the future is the behavior of the past. I want to point out that this goes two ways. The best predictor of your partner's future behavior, how they will manipulate, deceive, control, coerce, intimidate, isolate, manipulate, deflect, the best predictor of that is their past behavior. But also, the best predictor of your future is your past behavior. Because if you have survived till now, that is a very good predictor that you can get through this that is in front of you also.
Absolutely.
If you have been strong enough to make it this far, living in this environment, you can absolutely make it through to the other side. So that's not just a negative, it is also a positive reflection on your strength and your determination and your courage.
Yeah. So you were talking about if the past patterns are manipulation, coercion, control, etc. These patterns are likely to go with you into the family court system.
Yes.
So
And the family court system is not prepared to deal with that.
right, right. So when a betrayed survivor is entering that world, what do they need to know about how family court works? What are the biggest misconceptions people have?
The biggest misconceptions, I think, that especially conservative Christian betrayed women that they have is that court is where you go to get vindication and
Yeah.
justice. And that the court cares about morality. The court doesn't give two figs about morality or justice, not family court. It is there to enforce what is legal, usually, and it does not care about what is true. It cares about what you can prove. If there's no paper trail, it didn't happen. If you can't prove it, whatever your claim is, with third-party, qualified, credentialed, professional evidence, it's not going to be taken seriously. Maybe your kids have disclosed sexual abuse. If you are the one reporting it, it's not going to be likely to be taken seriously. In fact, it can work against you if you don't handle it in a way that the court views as credible. If you are dealing with a situation where your porn-addicted partner, your betraying partner, is now letting your 7-year-old watch R-rated movies or playing porn videos on his phone while putting the kids to bed, or, right after putting the kids to bed when they could pop up and come running back out into the living room, the court doesn't care. And your moral outrage will be misconstrued as you being the problem parent. This is really difficult to swallow, especially for mamas where maybe you have been small and silent for a very long time, and you have finally found your voice, and you are determined that you will not be silent and squished down into someone else's little box to cover up sin ever again. And you have determined you are going to speak out. You are going to be standing firm on this, right?
Yeah.
And you have found your moral outrage. You've tapped into it. You get into the family court system and they tell you to shut up about all of this. That feels very unjust. It feels very unfair. It is.
And it is.
Let's just be honest. It
yeah.
is. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's just and it's fair and it's fine
Right.
and you shouldn't have any feelings about it. I'm saying that all the big feelings that you have about that reality are going to backfire on you in family court. So you have to learn how to know, you have to learn what court expects from you
Yeah.
and what they want to see and what their purpose is. Family court is not there to arbitrate your ex's moral failings. And there's no law against being a completely crap parent. So all of your mama heart about how your kids should be treated well, if it's not illegal, family court's probably not going to do a lot about it, especially if you can't prove it.
Yes.
But if you know that family court is there to do two things, three things. The purpose of family court is to, as much as possible, equalize parenting time and financial assets between both parents, and then get you off the docket. That is their purpose. So when you know that, and you know how they are assessing fitness as a parent and what they are looking for, and you learn how to manage your mindset and your nervous system so that you can armor up emotionally. I actually have one of our programs is called Emotional Armor for court and co-parenting to help with that nervous system regulation. When you know that that is what court is looking for, you can adapt accordingly and still be fighting for your children's best interest and still be learning how to educate your kids to recognize red flags, but never be discussing the other parent because that will get you in trouble fast.
Yeah.
You can still
call it.
you'll get slapped with allegations of parental alienation if you are info dumping to your children even the truth of what the other parent has been doing.
Right.
So, but still, your kids need to know how to recognize tricky situations and abusive patterns and unhealthy, toxic things, and they need to learn how to self-advocate. That's what I help protective parents do, is learn how to do these things and organize their evidence and create a solid communication background record so that they are not self-sabotaging their own cases in their moral outrage.
And listeners, we will have links to these resources that Sarah is mentioning, along with anything else that you think is relevant, Sarah, to provide links for to our audience.
Sure.
Who need these resources. I know you also do have a provider toolkit link that you gave me.
Yes.
Tell me more about that. So
okay.
because we also do have people helpers that listen to our podcast. So
fabulous. Okay.
Therapists, coaches who are helping other people, and these are such valuable resources that are hard to find. So tell us more about that too.
Sure. Let me divert to that for a second. So I see this a lot where people helpers are really, they're very good at trying to help people reconcile.
Yeah.
And they're very good at maybe working on communication skills and working on problem solving skills and maybe working on parenting skills and working on patience and accountability and all of these types of things, right? We tend to have a lot of resources and materials for that. But when it gets to a point where one partner is just not doing the work and the pervasive patterns of behavior are continuing and it is harming the rest of the family, and the betrayed partner is like, I have to make a different decision. I can't pursue reconciliation anymore. Pastors and providers, clinicians tend to be like, I don't know how to help you now. All I can do is pray for you. I'm so sorry. Right. Get a lawyer, I guess. I mean, I wish it wasn't this way, but what do we do? That's where I come in.
Yeah.
In that gap. So I've developed what we call the HCCRI, the High Conflict Court Case Risk Index. Because remember, if the best predictor of the future is the behavior of the past, then we can reasonably predict your risk level of getting dragged into a high conflict court case just by trying to get free. And side note, if you get a high risk level, if your score is high, that doesn't mean you shouldn't leave. It doesn't mean you shouldn't seek safety. It means you pack different gear for the trip.
Yes.
You need a whole different set of gear to hike the Appalachian Trail than you do to raft the Grand Canyon River. You don't pack the same gear for those two different expeditions. But if you don't look at the maps and you haven't planned the trip and you aren't aware of what you're up against, then you'll pack the wrong gear and have the wrong expectations.
I love this analogy. So tell me more about the gear that a woman needs when she knows she's likely heading for this kind of high conflict custody battle.
Right. So let's say you don't have kids. Let me just kind of get some out of the way first.
Sure.
Let's say you don't have kids and maybe you don't have a lot of assets. You're going to have a much simpler, still heartbreaking, but a much simpler resolution to the end of a marriage, to the divorce process. Let's say your kids are in their late teens. They've made up their minds. They know where they stand on things. They're already pretty independent. You are going to have, again, a much less likely situation where there is cause for ongoing, lasting conflict. Let's say you have 3 kids under the age of 8. Your youngest is 3 years old. You've got 15 years of co-parenting left. Your 3-year-old may not be fully able to communicate things accurately that are happening around them or happening to them. And that is a different level of terror in a protective mama's heart.
Yeah.
That is also a different level of time frame ahead of you, a different level of potentially sexually exploitative access if your soon-to-be ex has those tendencies or proclivities. It's a different amount of time that your kids have to potentially be poisoned against you as the safe parent and have your relationship bond sabotaged by the abusive parent. It's a lot longer that you're looking at potentially having legal fees if your kids are little, or if you have a lot of kids, or if you have either of those factors and more significant financial assets that you can either be locked out of or removed from, or that could be hidden. So as you are weighing those things, if you are in that high risk category, younger kids, assets or no assets, but really for custody, the younger children. And if you have neurodivergent children or medically complex children, those are 2 different aspects that tend to add a lot of stress and a lot of space for co-parenting conflict. If you are in that category, you don't just need an attorney from the white pages or the yellow pages. You need a good attorney. You also need a multidisciplinary team because you need a therapist who can help you process the junk you're going to have to deal with emotionally on top of everything that you're already dealing with, because you need to be able to show up good for your kids. And if you aren't getting help for yourself, it will be next to impossible for you to be the mom they need as they go through this. And if your ex-partner or soon-to-be ex-partner has a history of deception, manipulation, coercion, underhanded, villainous behavior, you need to expect that that will follow you into the system and into the co-parenting, and you need to prepare mentally and emotionally to expect that. Stop assuming or hoping that they are going to do the right thing for the right reasons. If they did the right thing for the right reasons, you wouldn't be in this situation. You would have been able to make it work. You would have reconciled because that's what you wanted most anyway. So you need not just a good lawyer and a good therapist, but I strongly believe you need a good coach. Someone that fills that gap between therapist and attorney. Because attorneys typically don't sit down with you and talk strategy. And they definitely don't help you figure out where your mama trauma spinning is actually getting in the way of your legal strategy. Attorneys are like, stop blowing up my phone with text, stop asking me questions about everything. Oh my word, take this to your trauma therapist, go get a therapist, do something, but just let me deal with the legal stuff. And your therapist is like, I can help you with your emotions, but I don't know how to help you strategize. I don't know what the court is expecting of you. I don't know how to help you plan more effectively or write better messages to your co-parent, because that's not their area of expertise. So I fill that gap. And if you are going to be moving into one of these highly conflicted things, you need to have clear expectations of what court wants, clear expectations of the strength of your case, and a multidisciplinary team.
So important. So good. What a great resource that you are, Sarah, to women in a difficult situation like this. And I feel this, I'm feeling this stress in my body even right now, because this is my story and this is your story too. So I want our listeners to know, like, you're not alone and you can make it, even though you might be listening to this feeling like, is this really my life? Is this really my situation? I promise you that leaving can be so much better than staying when it's this tough, even though this stuff is scary that we're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
So, can you unpack a little bit more? What does high conflict communication actually mean in a family court context?
Okay, so first let's start with just the high conflict part. Most family courts don't get abuse. And judges are not mandatorily trained on abuse. Many court-appointed therapists, parenting evaluators, custodial evaluators, parenting coordinators, guardians ad litem, lawyers, many of them have never actually been trained in domestic violence, abuse, or trauma. You would think, what? Isn't that what they're there for? No. Most of them have not received that kind of training. Some have. They are the anomaly, not the standard. So when two parents, do not just agree on everything for the best interest of the children, the court tends to label those high conflict. And as a standard, the court tends to assume that they are mutually toxic, annoying, obnoxious humans. So the standard court response is, y'all need to get along, figure it out. Stop showing up in my courtroom, go figure it out. Here's the problem. If one partner is scared of their children's actual life, morality, sexual safety, medical care, whatever it is, but one parent is afraid for big reasons, and the other parent is belligerent, manipulative, insulting, intimidating, entitled, coercive, you can't just sit down in mediation and figure it out and know that we're both going to stick to it because we're both good humans who just want the best for our kid. And the court doesn't see that. So the court calls it high conflict, even when it is coercing and victim, belligerent and terrified.
And yet here's something that you talk about is the patterns of how each person shows up in the courtroom.
Yes. So that's
victim versus the abuser. Tell us more about that.
Yes. So when you have a person who is very coercive, domineering, belligerent, the harming parent, we're just going to call him the harming parent, right? And you have the betrayed parent who is scared for their children's well-being on whatever fundamental level. medical, sexual, physical, psychological, or all of the above, then the harming parent tends to be more charming. One of my grannies used to say, charmers are harmers. But the harming parent tends to be the one who shows up looking chill and calm. I just want to be able to spend equal time with my kids. She's such a vindictive ex. Insert bleep, 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 bleep. She just won't let me be around my children. It's so terrible. She's alienating them from me. Never mind that the children clearly remember when he slammed them into a wall or cussed them out in front of all their friends or blamed them for things that they weren't, or was passed out drunk or whatever. So, and the court buys that because the court is looking at which parent seems most stable and calm. Then you have the betrayed parent who is terrified. She's scared out of her wits. She's not sleeping. She's now working. Maybe she was a stay-at-home homeschooling mom this whole time. Now she's working 3 jobs. She's trying to juggle stuff. She's got a 6-month-old or a toddler that's into everything. She's got a medically complex kid. She's got one autistic kid that just cannot handle transitions and has big, huge meltdowns that affect the whole family. They're scared to death of the other parent, so they never do it at the other parent's house. And mom gets all of the meltdowns at her house because mom is safe and they know they can. And she's got financial stress. She can't afford an attorney. Maybe she never went to college or whatever else. She's not sleeping at night. She is frazzled. She's forgetful. She's insistent. And maybe she's morally outraged. And she's just determined that her kids need to be protected from the harm that they're experiencing. And the other parent is like, I just don't understand what the problem is. Why can't we just get along? And she loses her mind because, what do you mean we can't just get along? We have never, if we could get along, I would never have divorced you. I never wanted this. And she's processing her trauma. And so she shows up looking like the least stable, least fit parent.
Yeah.
Not because she cares less, because she cares more. Because she is more dedicated. Because her entire life has been about making accommodations and support and care for her children's needs while he was not involved at all. And now everything is supposed to just be 50-50 and mom's freaking out. And the court sees that as instability instead of seeing the coercive control dynamic.
Yeah.
It's
So
a terrible place to be.
Yeah.
It backfires badly. And until you know what the court is looking for, and you're working with people outside of you who can help you see what the biggest factors actually are legally, not the things that are the biggest deal to your mama heart,
Yeah.
but the things that are actually the biggest legal factors, it will be very difficult not to be upside down in court. And then you feel like everything is against you. No one listens to you. The court doesn't protect children. The court doesn't protect women. And you have to know that when you show up in court, as far as the court is concerned, they have 0 background or context. You could just as easily be the liar as the other one, the other parent.
Yeah.
You could just as easily be an abuser as the other parent. So they take both people at face value. If your court case was a murder mystery, no murder, but a TV show, 12 episodes.
Yeah.
You're in episode 11. You know who the bad guy is by now.
Right.
They're at episode 1, where everyone is an equal opportunity possibility.
Oh, I love that.
They don't know who the bad faith players are in your story.
Right.
And if you come in pointing fingers and intensely, stridently certainty, with tons of certainty, certainly, about telling everyone that the other parent is the bad actor, is the perpetrator, how does that play out for people in a murder mystery who come in telling all of the investigators and the police and the therapists and the judges and the attorneys that it's that guy, he's the one? You always know that that person doesn't get listened to. So you have to learn to dial it back. And that is freaking hard.
You can dial it way up with your coach who knows how to help you.
Absolutely.
Therapist.
And your therapist and your
Yes.
attorney once in a while. Don't freak them out.
But
you
when
know.
you're in the courtroom, you
You
have to
have to be regulated.
and calm
Mhm.
and strategic.
And precisely truthful.
Mhm.
No exaggeration, no minimization. And it's not just the courtroom. It's when you're talking to a pediatrician. It's when you're talking to your
Mhm.
children's therapist. It's when you're talking to an investigator. It's when you're talking to CPS. You have to be dialed back. Is it fair that if you think your child has been sexually abused, you should appear to have no feelings about it? No, because you want to blow something up. You're infuriated. But in these kinds of situations, you have to be chill about it.
Yeah.
And it is a tall order. It's
So tall.
I went through 9.5 years of custody litigation as a protective parent. Multiple investigations, multiple states and jurisdictions involved. It is a hard road to walk,
Yeah.
but you don't have to walk it alone.
No. No. Okay, so if a woman was listening to this and she's at the beginning of the journey of making this decision,
Mhm.
you want her to know so that she doesn't lose herself and her mind, which if you're listening to this and you're like, no, I think I already have lost my mind. I want to say this to you, beloved, is that you are not crazy. You're traumatized.
Mhm.
Okay. So what should that protective parent know?
The way you start out has every possibility of costing you a couple of $100,000 extra or saving that,
Mhm.
depending on how quickly you figure out what is expected and how to effectively navigate the court system with the truth. I get two types of clients in general. The first type of client is 5 years in, upside down, underwater financially.
Yeah.
Maybe at this point, their parents have put a second mortgage on their house to help them with legal fees for their grandchildren. They are drowning because at the beginning, either they didn't know or they thought it was too much extra expense to have a multidisciplinary team. Now, they are back in court every 3 to 6 months. They've got 10 more years because their youngest is like 8 years old. They've already been doing this for 5 years. They genuinely think they're going to lose their mind, and they usually have 1 to 5 autoimmune issues, or they're getting diagnosed for cancer.
Yeah.
Now, I went through a lot of those similar things: cancer survivor, TBI survivor, child with brain surgery, you name it. I understand how overwhelming that is. I also know that I would have saved tens of thousands of dollars, probably $150,000 over a decade, if I had had me in my corner when I started, because I would have done things differently. The me now. I didn't know any of this stuff back then.
Right.
Right. But I was just trying to follow my parenting instincts and do the best I could.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what I was up against or what the system wanted. So, first type of client I get is years in, upside down, drowning, and just trying to survive it. And I help them turn their cases around. And that is incredibly rewarding when those cases start turning around. The second type of client that I get is the one, like you just described, that's right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is too risky to do without help. And they decide to put the extra investment in on the front end to have extra help when they start. Their legal fees tend to be tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars less, even a couple of years in, because it still takes time. It's not going to be instant, even if you have a coach. But because they are able to anticipate their abuser's next move, because I teach them how to do that, and to anticipate what the court's expectations are, they can keep their legal fees way down, move on faster, heal faster, help their kids more effectively with the transitions and the changes, and end up in a position where the truth is seen much sooner and much more clearly by the people who are in charge
Mm, that
of
is,
making the decisions.
yeah, that is so powerful. So powerful. Sarah, thank you so much for sharing your
You're
wisdom,
welcome.
hard won wisdom, your
Yeah.
expertise. It's a rough road. It's a really rough road. And listeners, if this episode, if you're still here, I assume you just really needed this. And
Yeah.
there is more. Sarah and I get you. We understand. We've both been through this, and you're not alone.
No.
Anything else you want to close with, Sarah? Anything else you want our listeners to know?
I want to address, just before we are done, the fear of potentially leaving
Mhm.
and knowing that you will not be with your children part of the time.
That's a real fear.
It's huge, and it can be crippling, like debilitating fear.
Mhm.
I know that it is a big enough fear that some mothers decide that their best choice is to do their best to stay well for as long as possible until their children are older. And that is your choice to make. I respect that choice if that is what is best for you. However, if you are deciding to leave well, I want you to know that your children will benefit from having a safe, peaceful, healthy, calm home where they are allowed to be and empowered to be fearless, free, and uncontrollable, which we talked about in the last episode. So go listen to that one if you haven't yet. But where they are empowered to be their full potential part of the time in your home. And that is life changing because kids pick up on the vibes in their surroundings, even if we are trying to buffer them. They see things, they know things, they feel the nervous system energy, right?
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes it comes down to, do I want my kids to live in a coercive, controlling, deceptive environment all of the time, or only part of the time where they can live with me in a safe, healthy, truthful, vibrant environment the rest of the time?
Yeah,
Only you can decide that.
that's right.
But my friend Gretchen Baskerville, who wrote The Life-Saving Divorce, I don't know if you know of
I
that
do.
book.
Yeah.
She recently did a poll with several thousand people in her group asking if their kids, minors or adult kids, were grateful or upset that their parents had divorced, that their abused parent had left the harming parent. 9 in 10 kids who had been living in high conflict, high tension, unsafe homes where manipulation, coercion, deception was part of the household environment. 9 out of 10 kids in those high conflict homes were glad that their parents had separated and that their protective parent had given them a better environment at least part of the time.
I
Now,
totally I totally
it's
believe it.
just, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's hopeful.
I think the final thing is just, you don't have to figure this out by yourself. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And you can build a new life.
An even better life.
Yes.
You really can. That's so
Peaceful
hard to
and
believe.
happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sarah. This is
Thank
so
you,
good.
Kristin.
So good. Okay, listeners, take good care of yourself. This is a lot.
Mhm.
Do some breathing. Get out in nature if you can. Just let this sink in.
Yeah. Take a walk.
And know that wherever you are and whatever you decide, we are here, like
Mhm.
cheering you on. Friends, thanks so much
Mhm.
for being here with us today. And until the next episode, I am holding out hope for you.